Welcome, YouTubers and my fellow Navy dudes. My first ship was the USS Ramsey DEG-2. These are some of the stories in or around about that time in WESTPAC of 1972. So we were in port for upkeep for a week, then underway for the Gulf of Tonkin. We were assigned a PIRAS station providing naval gunfire support. PIRAS is a U.S. Navy acronym meaning Positive Identification Radar Advisory Zone, basically defined as air search coverage for a ship, very similar to radar picket stations in World War II. More information can be found on Wikipedia. The ship was involved in vert rep and unrep every other day. We were very busy every day for a month providing naval gunfire support. And time for mail call one day. You guys again? Got a letter and picture. Got a letter and picture from Kristan. I found out I made second class. Whoopee! Around the first part of November 1972, we returned to Subic for maintenance and repairs. Did I mention Liberty Call? In port for a week. Time was up. Time to get underway for the Gulf of Tonkin again. Ramsey met up with the USS Lang. Our captain challenged USS Lang for an old-fashioned drag race. As he described, we were going awful fast. That ship was moving. I went down to main control and the fireman was coming up. Tells me we're doing 32 knots and no faster. Just as I got to the bottom of the ladder, I could hear the steam turbines winding down. I asked the EO, do you want me to go ahead and start the Mercy diesel generators? Senior Chief says, yeah, you better. Got to the Mercy diesel generator room, blew down Bravo and started it. Had idle for about 30 seconds and Alpha kicked on by itself. We got down to 60% of the load from the steam turbines. Just then they announced over the 1MC, General Quarters, major steam leak in the fire room. That's a 1,200-pound major steam leak. Alpha and Bravo diesel generators were carrying the ship's load. Remember HTFN Sweet? Well, he accidentally fell through the deck plates because they got so hot and melted, but he was okay. Some of the snipes were outside getting some air. There's Doug to the left, Dumar to the right. USS Lang towed us back to Subic for repairs. Yes, we did win the race, but at a cost. 2 more weeks in Subic for repairs. Wow, that's a way to win a race. Upkeep and major repairs in the fire room for over 2 weeks and more. Then they shifted us over to another pier near the carrier by QB Point. This was to finish miscellaneous minor work in the fire room. Would you know it, they put us next to the USS Brooke DEG-1 and USS Schofield DEG-3, all nested together. After repairs, it was time to head back to the gun line for 3 weeks. After intensive use of the 5-inch 38 gun, the barrel wore out and it had to be replaced. We were no good without a gun, so they sent us to the pier at Da Nang to pick up mail for other ships on the gun line. We pulled in, singled up, and I took a look outside. It was the middle of the day. Dark, smoky, gloomy, and a very eerie feeling. It was like a chapter right out of the movie Apocalypse Now. One ship we delivered mail to, can't remember the name, Ramsey lowered the motor whaleboat with the boat crew and one ensign as a boat officer packing a sidearm and the ship's mail bags. We dropped their mail off and we were heading back to the ship, and I told the boat coxswain to follow some stuff in the water. There was some pretty weird stuff in his water. The boat officer drew his sidearm and said, "Return to the ship now." I said, "I was just kidding." About then, we heard gunfire and we hit the deck. We looked up and it was the Ramsey firing 10 salvos. That was pretty scary. We got back to the ship after delivering other mail to other ships on the gun line. This is a 50 cal shell casing that I took off from the port bridge wing. There were about 50 around there, so I took a couple, and this is one of them. The ship left the gun line and proceeded to Sasebo, Japan to have the gun barrel replaced. This was around mid-December 1972. Well, the ship stayed at Fleet Activity Sasebo, Japan until just after Christmas. Then it was back on the way to the gun line. Well, in Sasebo, the ship had a 3M inspection, which we passed with flying colors. The gun barrel was replaced. PMS repairs and upkeep. Dale and I went off base to this small bar. Dale, I told him to take a weird picture. And there we met this Okinawan sailor. He must have been only 20. I said, "Don't worry about it. We'll pay for all drinks. That's me, your host." About an hour later, he said he had to leave. We left about 30 minutes later, and we see him outside puking his guts up in a benjo ditch outside. Once Marty and I Went off base to another small bar, and we just tried fried squid. Tastes like chicken. We also had a couple beers in these beer mugs shaped like a boot. First time we ever tried fried squid, and if you ever drank out of a beer mug like this, you'll know. So we headed back to the gun line, transiting through the new year about the start of January 1973. We were part of the fleet providing naval gunfire support, again on-repping and vert-rep just about every other day. We got some real bad JP5 fuel, looked like chocolate milk. This was from the USNS tanker, forgot the name. It's supposed to be clear straw type color. I couldn't test it at all, and so I informed the captain and the chief engineer. The captain got his orders in the middle of the month to proceed to a Liberty port, Hong Kong, on or about 19th to 20th January 1973. I was instructed by my division officer to train and write up instructions on how to operate the ship's service diesel generator and go to 3-section vice port and starboard duty. Ha! It could have been a book. This was for the ACNR A-gang guys. The ship moored to a buoy in Victoria Harbor, Hong Kong. Dale and I left the ship on Liberty, bar hopping as they call it. You know, at this time, most of the bars were upstairs. One instance, we get to this one bar at last call. We see this BTFN saying, "Give me one for the road," and he leaves. The next thing we hear is him falling down the flight of stairs, and when we see him, he's laying down all sprawled out, and the beer is still in his hand, facing up. Whoa! Anyway, we pick him up, and he is really knocked out. We need to get him to a hospital. No taxi would pick us up because they saw him. So we hide him in the alley. We get a taxi and ask, "Can you take us to a hospital?" He says, "Sure." So we throw our little friend in, and the taxi driver's miffed, but he takes us to the hospital. Dale and I get back to the ship, inform the officer of the deck that he'll be staying overnight at the hospital. About our 4th day in Hong Kong, I got woke up at 0600 by the sound security watch, and he tells me my chief wants me in the diesel generator room. I descend the ladder, and he tells me the temperature water regulating valve failed and overheated Bravo engine. Do you know what cylinder it might be? I see scorch marks on number 8 exhaust box cover. I said, "Number 8? Well, for the next 3 days, we replaced number 8 liner, pistons, and conrods. They were all frozen. And how about that supply department? They had a complete unit in stock, pistons and all. Removing the top cover, top crankshaft, all main caps and conrods. In short, replacing number 8 unit. You could be an armchair quarterback in why this has happened to the second-class machinist mate, but it's a job and needed to get done ASAP." After those 3 days, I left the ship on Liberty, bought a nice portable AM/FM radio with cassette player, got this beautiful woman friend, and stayed at a very expensive hotel, Lee Gardens. This is the Lee Gardens Hotel I was staying at, January or so, near the end of ceasefire in 73, Vietnam. Pretty nice, expensive hotel. It was well worth it. And this is one of Suntory bottle whiskey that I went ahead and acquired from the hotel. As you can see, all the markings on it, still full. Left over in January of 73. Now remember, this is the Lee Gardens Hotel in Hong Kong. I was staying there for a couple days, and I remember the date now is the 27th of January 1973, ceasefire in Vietnam. This is the deck log of the USS Solette, anchored also in Victoria Bay. Take your time to read that. At around 2 a.m., I get a knock on my door, and it's 3 guys off the ship. They needed a place to sleep. One was an SH-3, ICFN, we call Animal, and I can't remember the name of the other guy. We check out from the hotel at 10 a.m. Animal wants to bring his girlfriend to the ship's party, but he must ask Mama-san at the bar if it's okay. We get to the bar, and Mama-san says, "I'll call her." We order 4 beers, and Mama-san says to Animal to speak to his girlfriend on the phone. Well, you won't believe what happened next. The SH-3 stirs his beer with something. Animal talks to his girlfriend, and it's okay. He comes back to the table, chugs his beer down. He says, "Let's leave." We all leave, and once we're outside, we all laugh except for Animal. Animal says, "What are you guys laughing about?" "Well, while you were on the phone talking to your girlfriend, SH-3 stirred your beer with something. Can't say it's on YouTube. Keep it clean." Animal laughs and says, "Ah, the hair of the dog." We leave Hong Kong on or around the 29th or 30th of January 1973 and transit to Subic Bay Naval Station for refueling, minor repairs, and prepare to head home. On the 15th of February 1973, Ramsey, along with Braunstein and I think the Olette, also the carrier USS Midway CVA-41, leave for home. A couple of days out of Subic, Ramsey comes across this mysterious-looking island, just sticking up out of the middle of the ocean. Weird. The ship actually stops and plots it, I think. Also, I didn't mention when we were leaving Pearl to Guam back in August 1972, these flying fish by the hundreds were landing all over the ship. I figured they were 10 inches long and wingspan of 15 to 16 inches. We arrive at Pearl Harbor on the 26th of February 1973, and it's just enough time to refuel and get underway for home. We escort Midway for about 2 or 3 days, and she travels independently to Alameda, California, arriving on Saturday, the 3rd of March, 1973. By this time, I got channel fever and I can't sleep. We also arrive at Long Beach Naval Station on the 3rd of March, 1973. While on WESTPAC, our captain grew a beard, very similar looking to Sean Connery in the movie The Hunt for Red October. Commander Sullivan made full captain sometime a little thereafter on WESTPAC. I appreciate you guys watching my YouTube movie and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.